Praise be to Jesus. Hi everyone, Charles here with you on a Monday morning, my favorite day of the week actually. I don't see any news right now. It's sort of early. It's a little after 4 a.m. here. But I did come across something that I think is worth talking about just a little bit. I was looking at my Twitter feed, which is right here, and I had posted on this before, but it's important information for us to have stored away in our heads and hearts. What this is about is that 40% of the U.S. bishops' annual budget is from government grants to resettle refugees. Now, of course, we have this very large group of people here. They're somewhere in Mexico now. And, they want to enter the U.S. And, a lot of people see this as George Soros and the New World Order having to do with all this. But, 40% of their budget, all right? So what they're pushing for, and then that led me to another article here. What that led me to is this right here. I'll read a little bit of this here. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops is advocating for an increase in the number of refugees to be resettled in the country during the fiscal year 2019. The bishops are inviting Catholics who are U.S. citizens to sign a petition to the president asking that at least 75,000 refugees be resettled during the next fiscal year. They also suggest organizing meetings with their local elected officials to move the issue forward. All right. Since the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, along with the National Network of Catholic Partners, has resettled nearly 1/3 of all refugees in the United States since 1980. I just wanted to, bring this to your attention again. What I've been for, I'm going to change topic here just a little bit. Since this is all about money, the church is so much about money and power. And, Christ never really intended the church to be like this at all. I mean, if you go back to the Acts of the Apostles, you could say, oh, well, there weren't that many people in the world, and there weren't that many people that followed Jesus, so, of course, the churches were small. But between the Acts of the Apostles and the writings of the early church fathers, it's very obvious that Christ's wishes was that churches stay small so that people knew each other, so that there was a sense of family and of personally knowing people. And, they were to do do charity in their, in immediate vicinity is, what Christ really wanted. What the church has grown into, I think a lot of people say ever since it came to Rome, which was, I don't know when that was. I mean, I'm just guessing if I'm going to say 300 AD or 600 AD or 1200 AD. I mean, I really don't. That's something I really don't know. But corruption entered, and it got to be like a big man-made sort of thing. And I mean, we really see that nowadays. I follow a woman who is really, she used to be a First Order Franciscan nun, and she left the church many years ago because of all the corruption and the bigness and the money and the agendas. She really felt in her heart that all this just really gets away from what a church, what Jesus really wanted from his churches. So, she's really pushing in the other direction, is to get churches to be small. Although, she's not a Catholic priest. Although it seems like Jesus just sent her a Catholic priest, a priest who has left his order and the priesthood. I think he left the priesthood, actually, because other than that, he couldn't really do this. And he is going to help her incorporate tradition, the Catholic tradition. She's a Catholic at heart, so to incorporate all of their knowledge together to begin these small churches. And you'd have to go to, I'd like to belong to a little church like this where you actually knew the people, and you worked in groups, and everybody came to the meeting, even if it's 50 people, it'd be really, it'd really have a great sense of belonging. Of course, you still have to go to confession, to a regular church or whatever, but, and to Mass, but, I'm not sure exactly where all this is going with her and this priest. But there's some really good elements to all this. Well, anyway, here, I don't want to get babbling too long about this. I'm just trying to get you to think about a couple of things. The bigness of the agenda, and the money, the power, the influence of, what the Catholic Church is in America especially, and just a little bit of knowledge about, there's a group of people, they're in New Mexico, actually, that are actually, not only recognize this, but they're actually pushing back the other way, trying to get the church back to really what it should be. I'm going to say one other thing, and that's, I was listening to her talking last night, and she was really talking about how we don't really sort of plug into what's called the cloud of witnesses, which I think those words are actually in one of the letters in the Acts of the Apostles. And, of course, the cloud of witnesses are the saints in heaven. And I just got, at the time I was listening to her, I felt real strongly I should look up, who's the patron saint of the internet, or, whatever. Anyway, I ran that down, and it's actually St. Francis de Sales is the patron saint of media. And St. Isidore of Seville is the patron saint of the internet, although he was proposed to be that, I think, under JP2, and that's never been okayed. But actually, St. Isidore of Seville, at the time he lived, he wrote out all the knowledge, or as much as the knowledge as he could, of humanity at that time from different documents or whatever. In other words, for those of us that are older, we'll remember the Encyclopedia Britannica. Well, he was the first one to, come up with that. Putting together all the knowledge of humanity. So he's that, and so Rudy's retired here for a little while, although he may stick his head up every once in a while. But I really want to focus in on asking St. Francis de Sales to help us here on the channel in whatever way he can. So I'm going to start. I changed some of the cover photos. You may have noticed that or not. I don't know. But anyway, I want to make his presence more obvious here. So that can only be a good thing. And I think I could talk about the Catholic Church and where it's at, but I think we need to think small. Go back to the beginning. It just seems to feel right, and of course that's not the reason to do it, but it really, I don't know. Maybe most of the people in the church that you go to, but I don't think churches are really way too big to really function the way I think they're supposed to function. Anyway, so that's it for now, and we'll talk to you later in the day. Bye.